What is up, guys? JayFerGaming here, and welcome to my review of the 2015 Formula 1 Malaysian Grand Prix, which was a fantastic race. It was so much better than the opening round in Melbourne, and it just shows what Formula 1's all about. The shocks, the eventful overtakes, moves, contact. It just had quite a lot. The threat of weather, which Malaysia is famous for. It was just an awesome race, and it was well worth getting up for. So I'm happy about that. So qualifying, obviously Alonso was back replacing Magnussen, and the two Manor cars made it, which in a way was a good thing, but they're obviously miles off the pace. Well, actually only one of them competed in the race, but I'll get into that in a little bit. Qualifying Q1 was a fully dry session. There was a threat of rain, which came in qualifying to Q1. Will Stevens' car had mechanical issues, so didn't compete in the session. Merry was well off the pace in last. I mean, the Manor is just, it's pretty much last season's car, and it's going to get nowhere near any other car, probably for the whole season, which isn't a good thing, but at least they're there, I suppose. Two McLarens were out. Button now qualified Alonso, which was pretty good. I think them two are going to have a pretty awesome battle this season. Into Q2, the big casualty was Raikkonen, because all cars put in one fast lap and then it started chucking it down. But Raikkonen and Hamilton were stuck behind Ericsson. Raikkonen only made it to 11th, Hamilton to 8th, so Raikkonen was out of Q2. And that left the top 10 shootout. It was raining once again, but it was intermediate tyres required for the session. Some cars put on wets and pretty much pitted immediately to change over. Hamilton just took pole from Vettel. It was so close. Vettel was so disappointed not to take pole. It was less than a tenth of a second. Rosberg in third was pretty much nowhere. And then the two Red Bulls in the top 5. So good performance there. It was race day and the sun was out. There was a 40% chance of rain, and it didn't actually come in the entire race. It didn't look like coming, so I'm not sure where the weather forecast came from, but oh well. Onto the race. Hamilton was pretty much well ahead after the start. Rosberg got a slightly better start than Vettel, but Rosberg was really conservative going into the first corner. I think he definitely could have taken second place, but Vettel swooped around the outside of him, maintained second. There was a little bit of contact tyre to tyre, but no damage. Talking about damage, there was contact lower down the field. Maldonado got a puncture as Bottas made a very slow start from 8th on the grid. Tabbed Maldonado, gave him a puncture. Maldonado's season is so unlucky so far. At the end of the first lap, in the final corner, it was Raikkonen. I think he was attacking one of the Toro Rossos and went a bit deep, went for a bit of a switchback, and the Sauber behind him hit him. I'm not sure which one it was, because in commentary they said it was Ericsson, but I think it might have been Nasser who hit Raikkonen and then got a puncture and had to drive pretty much a lap with a downflated tyre. A couple of laps later, Ericsson went for a bit of an optimistic move down the outside of, I think, one of the Toro Rossos again, outbroke himself far too much, spun round, and he was stuck in the gravel at turn 1. It was a pretty pathetic move and just shows how much of a paid driver he is. Not a fan of his whatsoever. So the safety car did come out. I think they were a bit conservative there, bringing the safety car out, probably based on Bianchi's crash last season. But yeah, that bunched up the field. Raikkonen and Maldonado could catch up. In terms of pit stops, 5 cars didn't pit. The rest of the field did. It was Vettel who stayed out, took the lead. Hülkenberg, the two Perez, one of the Toro Rossos, and someone else I can't remember. But that demoted Hamilton to 6th, Rosberg to 9th. And they were both put onto the prime tyres, and they would have had to fight their way through the field, and they did kind of. Took Hamilton a couple of laps to get through the first car. It was Grosjean actually in that pack, which was getting held up by Hülkenberg. He had to get past the first car and then overtook the next 3 pretty simply, but the gap was then 10 seconds to Vettel, who pulled out a great lead. It was just like Vettel of the old days. Rosberg, who was not the best at overtaking, like going for bold moves, took a little while longer and eventually got himself up to 3rd, but that resulted in being about 10 seconds behind Hamilton as well. So 20 seconds off the lead. The win was pretty much out the question for Hamilton. And yeah, in terms of strategy, Hamilton had to do an extra pit stop in that race. So did Rosberg. So Vettel built up a lead, and in the final stint, Vettel went on to the primes. Hamilton went on to the primes a lap later. I think he could have gone on to the options, would have stretched the stint. He would have been faster, but he was only a lap later. So Vettel still had around a 10-12 second lead, and that came down to 8 seconds, and Vettel took the victory. I was absolutely amazed. I couldn't believe Ferrari won the race. I didn't think they would at all, and it's a fantastic performance from Vettel. I'm a Ferrari fan, so I loved it so much. Mercedes can be beaten. Hamilton in second. He didn't have the answer to Vettel. He had pace, but it just wasn't enough. I don't know if the Ferrari's just good around Malaysia. They do have a good record around there. I think they've won the most races overall. Rosberg in third. It wasn't the best of races for him. Obviously got caught out because he had to stack in the pit stops when the safety car came out, and that lost him a lot of time because he was stuck behind slow cars in the midfield. Raikkonen fourth. He put in a fantastic performance. It just outlined how quick the Ferrari is. He was down to last, but the safety car saved him, so got himself up to about 15th. But he just sagged his way through the field and got himself up to 4th with some pretty good overtakes. And he finished 40 seconds behind Rosberg. I think he could have been battling Rosberg for 3rd if he didn't get the puncture and obviously qualified near the front. But obviously that didn't happen, so we need to sort that out for the next race. The two Williams are 5th and 6th. Kind of a repeat of last year. I was thinking there could be a radio call for team orders, but no, there wasn't really any cars behind them, and they battled it out at the end. It was pretty good, and Bottas got the better of Massa. It's actually really close, wheel-to-wheel racing. The Williams really didn't have the pace this weekend. I know they struggle in the wet. They have done for the past few seasons, and the straight line speed didn't really kick in, and I'm surprised they finished so far behind. They've got a lot of work to do to catch up to Ferrari and Mercedes. The two Toro Rossos finished... Actually, I've just realised, looking at the standings, it's kind of 2 by 2 for pretty much the whole grid. But next for the two Toro Rossos, 7th and 8th, the midfield battles were absolutely fantastic, involving the Williams, Toro Rossos, Red Bulls. Actually, pretty much everyone was involved in them. It was actually really fun to watch. It was a great race. DRS was definitely not overpowered in this race. It gave you the chance to get side by side with the other car. But it was a good tool to defend, as there was like, at times, a train of about 6 or 7 cars. It was fantastic racing, and the two Toro Rossos, the youngest, I think the two youngest drivers on the grid, if I'm not mistaken, finished 7th and 8th. The Toro Rosso is a good car this season, and I think it's probably possibly on par with the Red Bull. That's how good they are. And Verstappen put in a fantastic performance. He was sliding down the field in the early goings, but he recovered, overtook a few cars later on, and passed a few cars through strategy, so good race for him. His first points in F1, and the youngest scorer of points as well, so good job to him. Sainz as well, up there getting some more points, building on his performance in Australia. Them two definitely have a bright future. The two Red Bulls in 9th and 10th, they both got lapped by Vettel as well, so that's a bit of a bitter moment for Ricciardo, who smashed Vettel last season. In the early goings, Kvyat, along with Verstappen, just drops right down the field. Just doesn't seem to have the pace. Ricciardo, I don't know, he struggled all throughout the race. He just seemed to have no grip at all, sliding around, making mistakes as well, which you don't really attribute Ricciardo with making such basic mistakes. And he got over he kind of let Kvyat past as well, which was a bit strange. Don't know if there was team orders there. But yeah, Grosjean 11th, could have got into the points, but he got taken out by Perez. Went for a risky move around the outside. I think he was entitled to do it. It would have been an amazing move, but you could just see the contact. It was going to happen. Perez spun him. He got a 10-second penalty in the pit stops. Hulkenberg got one as well for contact with Kvyat, which spun Kvyat round. I thought that was really harsh, because in the first two corners, you go side by side. Hulkenberg was still alongside Kvyat. Kvyat turned in. So I'd say that's just a racing incident. Hulkenberg could have got points actually, but the Force India is just a poor car this season. And the final finisher was Roberto Merri he got the car to the end. He was 3 laps down. His best lap was a 1:49, and we'll compare that to Rosberg's a 1:42, so 7 seconds slower. I don't know if that's a good thing to have Merry on the grid, or Manor in general, because they're just so slow. I mean, for the future of F1, you want to have as many cars as you want, but that's probably a discussion for another race. Maldonado, the 2 McLarens, Sauber of Ericsson didn't finish, and Will Stevens didn't start. So that was my quick review of the Malaysian Grand Prix. Awesome race. Next time out will be China. So I'll be reviewing that one, and I hope to catch you then. Goodbye.